cord injury. So what exactly is NeuroRobotics? Well, it's really an interdisciplinary and translational field that is at the center of 3 different research areas. The first is assistive and rehabilitative robotics, which for my lab includes powered exoskeletons and multi-articulate bionic hands. The second field is sensory motor neural engineering, which my lab focuses particularly on brain-computer interfaces, or more specifically peripheral nerve interfaces. And we often use electrodes that we place on the surface of the skin to record muscle activity or to evoke neural activity. And the last area that we work in is in artificial intelligence. We use artificial intelligence approaches to extract information from the nervous system and to encode information into the nervous system. And we model our artificial intelligence algorithms after the human body to make our brain-computer interfaces more intuitive. And again, the ultimate goal of our lab is to really restore sensory motor function to patients. So we're very much a clinical and translational lab, and we work pretty much every day with patients. And this interdisciplinary work requires a large and diverse research team. So we have people from a ton of different disciplines working on a variety of different research problems. And our diversity is really what drives our innovation, and our large team science approach allows us to tackle some of these larger healthcare challenges. And I like to think that our mission really embodies the 1U initiative. We serve kind of as a bridge between engineering and medicine, where we're trying to bring new technology, particularly that's developed on lower campus, into the clinics here on upper campus. And my appointment at the U is actually joint between the ECE department and the Division of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, but I'm also affiliated with the Robotics Center, the Center for Neural Interfaces, and the Craig H. Nielsen Rehab Hospital. The Nielsen Hospital is also really like kind of the backbone of our research lab and mission. The new building has drastically increased the number of patients here recovering from the life-altering disabilities that we're trying to work on. And the entire building is also equipped with smart home tech, which provides natural extensions for our brain-computer interface work, like controlling the TVs and lights in the patient rooms entirely by thought. In addition, we are working to build out this large collaborative research space within the rehab hospital directly alongside the patients. And this space would consist of, state-of-the-art motion capture system with overhead support, various functional assessments, lots of engineering space. There would also be these isolated human subject testing rooms where we could perform experiments and capture patients' experiences with production-ready audio-video recording. And the goal is really to bring researchers, clinicians, and patients together into one space so that we can kind of rapidly prototype and translate new clinical technologies. And I would be one of many other researchers in this space kind of working to bring new cutting-edge tech into the hospital. So next, I'll just kind of quickly touch on a variety of different research projects that we're working on that kind of fit within this space. So the overarching goal of my doctoral research was to restore intuitive and dexterous sensory motor function to upper limb amputees. And to restore motor control, we actually implanted Utah slanted electrode arrays into the residual arm nerves. We also implanted a electromyographic recording array, or an EMG array, into the residual arm muscles. And then when the person was thinking about a motor action, that information starts in the central nervous system and then transmitted to the periphery, where we record those signals and translate those into intuitive and dexterous control of a bionic arm. This is what we call the motor decode. And on the other side, we have what we call the sensory encode. And so the sensory encode is when the prosthetic hand makes contact with an object, we can convert sensor values from the prosthetic hand into stimulation parameters for the neural implant. That evokes electrical activity in the nerves, which then travels back up to the brain and actually cause the person to feel a sensation as if it's coming from their missing hand. And we can then tie the motor control and sensory feedback together to create a closed loop control system where your motor actions actually influence your sensory perception and your sensory feedback actually influences your motor control. And the idea is that this advanced system allows us to slowly replace what would normally be considered a tool, like a prosthetic hand, with something that the individual actually feels and embodies as their own hand again. And with this device, we were able to demonstrate intuitive and dexterous control that was based entirely on thought, as well as the long-term viability of these neural implants in humans, now with 7 participants. We've also shown that the sensory feedback that we can provide brings functional benefits like our ability to manipulate fragile objects, as well as psychological benefits like the ability to reduce neuropathic pain. And this work was picked up by a ton of different media outlets and was highlighted as one of the most covered research projects in any part of the U in at least the last several years. But across all the media attention we got, the most exciting part for us was that we got a retweet from Luke Skywalker himself. And so after my PhD, I completed my postdoctoral training at the U under an NIH fellowship through the Center for Clinical and Translational Sciences in collaboration with the Department of Mechanical Engineering. And the goal for this project was to develop adaptive neural control of powered exoskeletons to assist and rehabilitate stroke patients, so that even if a person was paralyzed or too weak to walk, an exoskeleton controlled by thought could help them walk again. And we first demonstrated that this hip exoskeleton could be used to reduce the energy demands of walking, shown by a reduction in the muscle activity when the exoskeleton was actively providing assistance. And this provides a platform for aiding individuals with neuromuscular impairments, but it also led to a new challenge in the field, which is how can you actually use your muscle signals to control the device if the very act of using the device changes the muscle signals? So stated another way, the challenge that we were facing was that the act of controlling the exoskeleton actually changes your intended control signal. So to overcome this issue, we started using embedded AI algorithms, and these AI algorithms were embedded into kind of portable processors that can then be used to extract information from the dynamic muscle signals. And then that can be used to predict the person's desired torque with extremely high accuracy. And this approach to adaptive control has broad implications for robot-assisted rehabilitation and was recently selected for the Outstanding Postdoctoral Research Award from the Association of Clinical and Translational Sciences. So moving forward, the first major goal of my lab is to merge kind of my doctoral and postdoctoral work to restore upper limb dexterity to stroke patients. We'll specifically be looking at how muscle activity changes throughout recovery so that we can develop novel diagnostics and robust control strategies for upper limb exoskeletons, with the ultimate goal being to provide assistance while also promoting rehabilitation. And this project was awarded the NIH Director's Early Independence Award, which provides $1.8 million over the next 5 years to accelerate my lab's research. And as Dr. Deere mentioned, the NIH only provides roughly 10 to 13 of these awards each year. And my award represents the first and the only in the field of physical medicine and rehabilitation, as well as the first at the University of Utah and in the entire broader Intermountain West. And I'd also really like to point out that a major factor for this award is the institutional support available to the applicants. So the award really was a team effort and speaks highly to the excellent resources available here at the University of Utah and the highly supportive team that I had through the Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation Division, as well as the Center for Clinical and Translational Sciences. So thought-controlled bionic arms are great and all, but my lab is also laying the foundation for what we think is going to be an even better technology in the future. So instead of using an external device to control the hand, what if we could tap directly into and override the biological motors that already exist? And so the nerves that control the movements of your hands are actually really close to the skin. So when you bump your funny bone, for example, you're actually hitting your ulnar nerve where it crosses your elbow. And we can electrically stimulate the nerves through the skin and make someone's hand move. But finding out exactly how to stimulate the nerves to restore complete dexterity takes a lot of effort. And so our goal is to leverage AI algorithms to kind of optimize this stimulation to reanimate paralyzed limbs. My lab is also interested in looking into how we can merge artificial and human intelligence to enhance human function. So for example, we recently embedded these infrared sensors into a prosthetic hand so that it can detect proximity. And then we built this, what we're calling self-aware prosthesis that automatically grasps objects within its proximity with a minimal amount of force. And we're now quantifying how humans can interact with this self-aware prosthesis to complete activities of daily living with minimal and cognitive and minimal physical effort as well. And then lastly, to kind of bring us full circle, I'm hoping to lead a large collaborative effort here at the University of Utah to develop the world's first bidirectional neural interface for lower limb amputees. This would involve similar implants that we've done in the past for upper limb amputees, but this time we'd be targeting the lower limb and focusing on outcomes like metabolic efficiency, walking speed, as well as prosthesis embodiment. And with that, I'd like to thank all the many individuals who have played a role in these projects and my training, both internal and external to the University of Utah. And thank you all so much for having me here and for listening. And at this point, I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, Dr. George,